What is there to talk about this team? You asked us on the post-trade deadline show if we thought the Jordan Montgomery trade was going to mess up their chemistry. We said absolutely yes. They lost on Tuesday. They lost on Wednesday. They got swept over the weekend. They've lost 5 games in a row. The teams they've lost to, one of those games, Luis Castillo beat him. We wanted him. We didn't get him. He beat us. One of those games, Jordan Montgomery beat us. 5 innings, 5 shutout innings. One of those games, it didn't matter who faced us because we had Frankie Montas, who was the worst pitcher on the field other than Garrett Cole over the course of those 5 games. You want to give him a break because of the circumstances of the past 10 days? I'm actually happy to do that. I don't think he'll be that bad ever again. But did it look good? Did it reflect well upon Brian Cashman's investment? Not really. Meanwhile, every time Andrew Benintendi gets a hit, the Yankees dugout salutes him like he is a child in a charity event, putting bat on ball for the first time. Scott Efros broke the door open in Sunday's loss. Oh, by the way, Clay Holmes blew another save. Lou Trevino might be the Yankees' best deadline acquisition, and he walked in the 9th run of Sunday's 12-run debacle. The Yankees demoted their best bullpen arm over this 5-day span, by the way. And potentially their second or third best bullpen arm is also at AAA, learning how to be a starter. Somehow Domingo Germán isn't even the biggest problem with the big league rotation or even in the top 10 roster issues at the moment. He was okay on Saturday. What fresh hell is this where I'm like looking at the scoreboard being like, you know what actually wasn't really that much of a problem with starting Domingo Germán. I hate it. The Yankees are free falling. They're 9.5 games up on the division, which is fine in a vacuum, but it's like watching a rotting corpse try to maintain a 9.5 game lead. We're playing a game called What's the Biggest Lead You Could Give to the 2008 Yankees and have them keep hold on it. This is not the roster we started the season with. They have not gotten a single break in a week, and Sunday was the breaking point for many of us. And oh, by the way, the home plate umpire gave the St. Louis Cardinals 3 full runs in a 3-run game. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review along with the mailbag question. We will be more than happy to answer it, but less happy than we probably were earlier in the week to answer it. I don't really want to read your mailbag questions. I definitely don't want to hear about the curse of Joey Gallo. The Dodgers are undefeated since we traded Joey Gallo to LA, and the Yankees have no wins. Although Joey Gallo is 0 for 10 with 6 strikeouts and 2 singles, one of which came off a position player. Shut the fuck up. Thomas Carinante, welcome to the podcast. This was the worst week of Yankees baseball this season. I mean, of course it was, though, because the team was 49-16, 52-18, 61-23, now down to 70-39, which when you've been as high as they were, that's downright pedestrian. They're now going to Seattle and then to Boston, coming home facing Tampa, Toronto, and the Mets again. Good luck with all that.
If they can get this shit out of their system before that 12-game stretch or whatever it is, I'll be fine with it. I think it's 3 against the Sox, 3 against the Rays, 4 against the Jays, 2 against the Mets. You got this last road series against the Mariners. Yankees historically do well in Seattle. It's always kind of a little bounce back road trip whenever they're going over there. So I'm not going to sit here and be all doom and gloom. Sadly, I'm also not going to be overly optimistic. I don't know what there is to be optimistic about. One of my favorite memes is the offense, the starting pitching, or the run support, the starting pitching, and the bullpenning. You just keep clicking one of them, and the other one just keeps getting X'd out. My problem with the Yankees, I have many problems with the Yankees. My number one problem with the Yankees is the manner in which this team is constructed. Because if 1 or 2 puzzle pieces go missing, then the Yankees do what they're doing right now. They're under 500 since middle of June, which quite frankly is unacceptable. They haven't had the hardest schedule in the world. They've had some disadvantages in there that we've talked about at length. The one game in Houston at the end of June, and then the doubleheader in Houston right out of the All-Star break where they didn't get that extra day off. Tough stuff. Not the easiest opponents either, but also wasn't really a gauntlet. The Mariner, you should be able to beat the Mariners at home. The Cardinals, solid team, but you score 9 runs in one of those games, you got to win that. You score 0 in the other one, which is crazy. They didn't boast anybody. They didn't boast any aces in that game. I don't know what was going on there. I know the Cardinals played phenomenal defense. Fucking Lars Nootbaar making plays out of his ass every other inning. Nolan Arenado's a Gold Glove third baseman. What are you going to do? So some bad luck for the Yankees as well. However, you look at the vibes. This team has no vibes. Again, the vibe check is frequently bad when times are like this. It's more of the confused post-game media. It's more of beat writers having to answer angry fans' questions and pretty much say, but I don't really know. I don't make the team decisions, so I'm not sure. Go look at Sweeney Murdy and Brian Hoke. They're answering a ton of fan questions with, what are the details to give you? I don't know. Why did they option Ron Marinaccio? We actually don't know. Sorry, we can't answer that for you. But you go back to trading Jordan Montgomery at the deadline buzzer. And that, I think, threw the vibes off this team. You lose Giancarlo Stanton. The offense hasn't been the same since he's been out. I know the offense still has been good, but it still has not been the same.
We know. Don't get shut out 1-0 by Jordan Montgomery in the middle part of the Cardinals bullpen on Saturday.
Yeah.
If you don't want me eyeing the offense.
Crazy.
I know, but don't do that.
Yeah. And then they lose a bullpen piece in Michael King. And look, these guys are invaluable. Giancarlo Stanton and Michael King, there's no replacing either of them. But to have there's no clear solution with what the Yankees are doing with their lineup. They're bouncing Benintendi back and forth, who, I didn't really want at the deadline anyway. I didn't think that was the right acquisition. And I still don't know what the bullpen plan is without Michael King. I don't know if somebody else can explain that to me. There doesn't seem to be anything in place to make up for his loss. Nobody is even going to come close to taking that role. They didn't add enough arms to fortify the bullpen to ensure that someone would be able to, maybe two people would absorb that role because he was a multi-inning guy and he was an ace at that. So once look, they had ample time to figure this out. Stanton's been out for a little while now. Michael King's injury happened over a week before the trade deadline. There was time to make the proper adjustments and find the proper solutions. And right now, we could get cold taked at the end of the season. Sure, we absolutely could. That'd be great. That'd be cool. That would be advantageous. But right now, you look at the fans' complaints with the trade deadline, the Jordan Montgomery trade, the other acquisitions simply not being enough. And you see a narrative here. And then you see the direct result. The Yankees lose 5 in a row. Their ace becomes the number 5 pitcher for the weekend. Their number 1 trade acquisition is on a 70 pitch count because he was on the bereavement list. So that's his debut on a pitch limit, having to deal with that pressure. Obviously, he got squeezed by the ump, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But again, not an excuse. Not really an excuse to lose 5 in a row. Not really an excuse to come out like this. Aaron Judge carrying the team. Someone's off every single day, whether it's the offense putting up 0, whether it's the starting rotation absolutely blowing up, whether it's the bullpen blowing multiple leads. And to me, all that tells me is that, 1, this is part of baseball. Teams go in and out of this shit. You get mired in a crazy slump. People don't know what they're doing. Nothing works, and you just have to recalibrate. 2, you have that compounded with there actually not being many solutions, which I think is the problem with the Yankees, because we watched 2020 unfold. We watched 2021 unfold. I know all of those had their separate issues, but it all comes down to the Yankees thinking that, or the Yankees having this plan in place where the pieces that they have are the pieces that need to work, and there's no mix and match or substitutions available. It's, okay, well, if these guys get injured, then looks like we're kind of shit out of luck. And that's what it feels like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you look at a team like the Astros, they didn't have Verlander in 2020 or 2021. They made the ALCS and they made the World Series. They didn't have Lance McCullers this year. They're a half game behind the Yankees. That's a very valuable player. That's akin to the Yankees not having Nestor Cortez this year. What would happen if the Yankees didn't have Nestor Cortez this year? What if the Yankees didn't have Garrett Cole last year? I mean, we saw what happened when they had a bad Garrett Cole last year and how far that set them back. Imagine if they didn't have Garrett Cole at all. They might not have made the playoffs. So you look at a team like the Astros, which is where a lot of the frustration is derived from, and why are they able to absorb a half season without Michael Brantley and still have 70 wins? How come the Yankees can get off to this roaring start when they're fully healthy and then get a couple of injuries and now are completely derailed in an under 500 team. That's the answer I want. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but that's what I need to know.
You're right. Everybody else, you're right. Michael Brantley's out, right? Everybody else deals with this stuff. The Yankees are getting otherworldly performances from Aaron Judge right now.
Yeah.
And all year long, it didn't just start. But Aaron Judge has been at his very best over the past 20 games. The Yankees are 8-12 in those games. Since the break, 6-11, 23rd best in baseball. They've scored the 7th most runs per game. The starters ERA is the 27th best in Major League Baseball. 5.67. They've allowed 21 homers, tied for the 24th best. Opponent OPS, 733. The 21st best in baseball. Everybody's hitting them. Doesn't matter who's pitching, everybody's hitting them. I think it's fair to say a lot of people are saying, there's this 500 stretch. Ooh, we got this, they've been a 500 team since the middle of June. No. They've been a 9-16 team since the middle of July. Right? I don't really care about when they were 12-7 before that. And to think we were all complaining when they were 12-7 against the Rays and the Pirates and the first 2 games of that Red Sox series. Right? Like, we were all complaining when it was like, wait, they don't score first anymore. What happened? Remember when they used to, take leads? Now they're coming from behind every day. They're going to Cleveland. They're down 2-0 in the first. Garrett Cole giving no homers. This is as bad as it's going to get. The fact that we don't, put the foot on the gas pedal anymore. No. They're 21-23 since the middle of June, since that awful game in Toronto. And that's bad enough. But what you should be focusing on is the fact that they are 9-16 since the Fenway Park blown game. The extra inning loss and the Judge stats, thanks to Brian Hoke. Aaron Judge has 13 homers and 32 RBI in his last 20 games, a 5.11 OBP, a 9.61 slugging, a 5.11 OBP. Judge is getting on base over half the time he comes to bat, and the Yankees cannot take advantage of that. If they score these days, it's because of Aaron Judge. That's not how you build a baseball team. Aaron Judge is your MVP for a million reasons. You know who else is building a pretty good MVP case? Giancarlo Stanton. Because the Yankees were a record-setting team with Stanton in the lineup and have been nothing of the sort since then. You want to tell me if I'm pressing the panic button or not? I'm not saying they're going to blow the division lead. I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs. It just depends on what your panic button is. Is your panic button, having the confidence to beat the Astros and the Mets and the Blue Jays and the Dodgers in October? Because if in that, I'm pressing that panic button. What have they shown me in a month and a half that proves they could beat those teams in a short series? And what are you even trying to measure up with? The Mets have DeGrom and Scherzer. What do you have? Garrett Cole is pitching like a 3. Like, I hate to, obviously this is whiny fuel, but just looking at it rationally, like the Yankees getting out to an insane start quenched these flames. And so whenever anybody said, how do they match up with XYZ in the playoffs? It was like, they never lose. So what do you want from me? They have the best offense, and the rotation is performing better than anybody else's rotation. And the bullpen is performing better than anybody else's bullpen. So what do you want from me? I know the names don't match up, but the stats indicate that the Yankees had dominated in every facet of the game in April, May, and June. So if you wanted to tell me, Max Scherzer, that's a tough postseason matchup, I know. But the Yankees legitimately owned every metric advantage through the first 3 months of the season. Now that they don't, and they're slipping, and like I just read off, they've allowed, in the bottom 20s in terms of home runs allowed and starter ERA, etc. The offense is, it'll still worry you from time to time. You'll watch Judge chasing sliders away against Scherzer, and you'll go, I wish this didn't go that way. But the offense is largely keeping its promises without Stanton and without Rizzo. The pitching is falling off an absolute cliff. So if you want to tell, what panic button am I pressing? Am I pressing the Yankees aren't going to the playoffs? No, I'm not pressing that panic button. Am I pressing the Blue Jays are about to rage back in the division and already have been? If the Blue Jays have been playing a little better, they'd probably be much closer already. The Rays, same deal. They're basically treading water. The Red Sox are somehow 17 games behind us, despite us struggling. None of that really makes sense. I'm not pressing that button yet, although I'm checking the standings and I'm fist pumping when the Blue Jays lose. I'm not pressing that button, but what's the goal here? Is the goal to slide into the playoffs, not my goal. So in terms of we feel like we had a special season robbed from us by a midseason backslide, yeah, I'm pressing that panic button because it's already over. It's not even a question of do the Yankees have what it takes unless they absolutely turn around again, unless we see the same pivot from untouchable to completely touchable to untouchable again. The seed of doubt has been sown enough that like what am I going to do here? You can't unring that bell. I've already seen it.
No, and it goes back to that is the panic button, by the way, for all the folks out there. It's the playoffs. It's getting rid of the narratives that have persisted. So, for example, here's a perfect way the Yankees cannot be the same old Yankees, or here was a perfect way they could have solved that or begun to solve that is you beat Jordan Montgomery on Saturday. You just trade Jordan Montgomery. Now you have former Yankee Jordan Montgomery pitching against you in his first start since being traded against your worst starter, and you put up a goose egg. That is classic modern day Yankees to me.
Yeah.
Blow it against a narrative that is clearly like is being served on a silver platter for all the haters to laugh at you for. That's one of them. And there's a reason that, I mean, the fans have good reason to laugh at us for that. I'd be laughing at us if I were somebody else. The panic button is beating these teams in the postseason and actually having the balls to step on somebody's throat, which is what they don't have. And you've said it many times. Good teams would look at the Yankees start and they'd say, great, how can we keep fucking winning? And whatever the Yankees just did, they said, oh, we have a cushion, so now let's fuck around and do a bunch of shit that we'll maybe see if it works. And if it doesn't, then I guess we'll just see what happens.
That's what's making me the angriest. It's like Brian Cashman's dream was starting this hot. So he could be like, oh my gosh, now I can clear Jordan Montgomery's salary in the middle of the year instead of after the season because we've got this big lead. We've already done all this damage. Like now I can tweak. I can try to solve Lou Trevino and his 6.5 ERA. I can get Scott Efros, who's somebody I've always coveted. Like I can trade all my upper level pitching depth and mess around because, we have this monster lead. I don't need 5 starters. I can wait on Luis Severino to get back in September. Meanwhile, every team, every other great champion who's ever been this good is like, wow, my record's insane. I'm going to stomp on that guest battle because I like winning games. Yeah. Ken McGraw asking how they fixed the problem areas they didn't or couldn't fix by the deadline. It felt like Luis Castillo was the only way for them to solve the rotation problem area. And they went to the second choice citizen and he showed up yesterday unprepared and unable to execute. He had no control, command, nothing.
Again, also bad on the road.
Terrible on the road, 6 ERA now on the road this season. I'm not judging him based on one start, but I am saying that there were plenty of things I wanted to see him do in his first outing. He did none of them. Yeah. What are the issues that remain? Shortstop, call up Oswald Peraza. The Yankees have this big lead that they don't feel intent to sit on, and they obviously weren't, say what you will about Cash, they clearly weren't comfortable at the deadline because they made like 5 or 6 additions, including the subtraction of Jordan Montgomery, which seems, like a ridiculous move at this point. Yeah. But he moved all these chips around. He's using the second half to experiment. He's saying we're comfortable with our lead, but he won't call up a top prospect to play shortstop. This contact hitting number 9 type. I know the lineup isn't the biggest problem in the world, but you need a jump start. I mean, jump start yourself. What more does he have to prove at AAA?
Yeah, I think.
And I don't really know what other issues that, like, other than that, the issues that they haven't solved are basically like get a true ace. Get someone who breathes fire instead of somebody who's got a 6 ERA on the road. And there was probably only one of those guys available in Luis Castillo who we were a bit nervous about it. Like that, maybe there were 0 of those guys available. Yeah. Again, led the league in walks last year, led the league in losses last year. Like, I love Castillo. He was the best option on the market. He's not Justin Verlander. He's not Max Scherzer. So these are issues that they can't even really correct midstream because you just had to do it earlier in the offseason.
Or you just deepen your rotation with a guy like Montas and keep Jordan Montgomery. That's what we thought the plan was. We thought the plan was, add a guy who's probably a number 3, who's going to deepen the rotation, allow guys to rest, allow people to preserve innings, and give you quality starts for playoff games 1 through 4, which is what this team has lacked for a very long time now. And now they still might get that, But you have another side of the coin where they're relying on the health of Luis Severino, which has been completely unpredictable for 4 years now. And you're relying on a bullpen to be well rested when you did not fortify the bullpen. You just added what needed to be added. So I really don't know. I think and look, you could have traded Gleyber Torres and Aaron Hicks at the deadline for more pitching and payroll flexibility.
Mhm.
Apparently that was part of the plan. It didn't get done. That would have allowed Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to shift into more. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa should be in DJ LeMahieu's utility role, essentially. Gleyber should be and in the event you trade Gleyber to free that up, you either call up Tyler Wade or Peraza to play shortstop. You put DJ LeMahieu at second. You have Rizzo at first, and then you have a revolving door of Donaldson and IKF playing third. And then if you need to move DJ to first, IKF plays second. Whatever the hell you want to do, I don't know. But they now don't really have that flexibility because they're seemingly stuck with IKF at shortstop because the front office believes in him.
And they love it. They love it. That was another thing. Like, did we think IKF was a stopgap because somebody actually said that this offseason? Or do we think he's a stopgap because we wanted him to be? Because they've shown no intention of moving off him, and they have an option to call somebody up. Like, what was it? IKF until the prospects are ready. One of the prospects is ready, but they don't think he is. So either we're bad armchair GMs and we don't know, we're not in the weeds with Oswald Peraza, or they love what Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is giving them, and this was the goal all along. They seem to love him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Look, people who would look at AAA stats, you're going to sit there and tell me that Oswald Peraza's 775 OPS is what you want? Like, I don't know. I'm just asking. I'd love to see prospects come up, especially when you have a cushion. I have no problem with it, but the roars to have a guy like Oswald Peraza come up as if he's going to be a savior, or like you think he's going to move the needle that much more than IKF. I get IKF is frustrating, but he does have good range outside of, making some routine errors, which are very frustrating. And he gets hits. He just bats 270. So he gets singles. I understand the contact isn't the hardest and he's not hitting home runs. But once again, you don't need hard contact and home runs in a lineup that's already littered with all of that. So I'm still never going to understand the IKF argument. I'm really not. Then again, I am not opposed to having Oswald Peraza come up and log some reps and see what he could do. I don't know why the Yankees are hesitant on that front, especially if they didn't trade him. We still can't believe that wasn't one of the top prospects dealt before the deadline. You have a surplus of shortstops. One of the guys is knocking at the door at AAA. Doesn't seem like he's the number one solution and priority for what the Yankees are trying to do. Easy person to trade in a deal that requires 2, 3, 4 prospects that need to be moved. So I don't know. And apparently there were other deadline plans that reportedly are floating out there. The Yankees tried to get rid of Donaldson, Hicks, and Gleyber. They didn't try. I don't know if they tried to get rid of Gleyber. They were listening on Gleyber.
Yeah, he was involved.
Yeah, they tried to get rid of Donaldson, who, why wouldn't you at this point, even though he hit the ball pretty well this weekend? And they tried to get rid of Hicks, which obviously, big mistake not getting rid of Hicks. You had the sandwich of his season. First 45 games were miserable. Next 35 games were amazing. Now next 15 are awful. You had the window to trade him in the midst of that 35 game stretch where however, all the Yankee fans are splicing these stats up to make themselves feel good. Aaron Hicks was an above average player for 35 games. That's great, guys.
Which 35? Which 35?
Yeah, seasons 5 times as long as that. So, I don't care if Aaron Hicks is good for 35 games. His meter for being criticized has run out, unfortunately, after that Astros home run. Sorry to say, Aaron Hicks bandwagon will not live on.
Nope.
But big mistake there, not trading Aaron Hicks. I understand that there was a problem with the Marlins, and maybe that deal Cashman got the rug pulled out from under him on that deal. But if you had the opportunity to even eat some of that salary, get rid of him, revamp the outfield a little bit, that's a massive advantage. Look, I saw Tim LeCastro play center field this weekend. I am fine with him out there. Did I need Harrison Bader and the imaginary production he might bring if he's out of a walking boot by middle of September? No. I would have been fine with Tim LeCastro and his speed covering a lot of ground out there. That's totally fine. I don't see the problem with Aaron Judge playing center field either.
We could
So
put
like
Ben Rortvedt in center. Ben Rortvedt and Harrison Bader walking out of the fucking Field of Dreams this week. Two dead guys wandering out of the cornfield. They're just not. They don't exist as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, and that's the other thing. It's like I don't know where the Yankees are upgrading. I don't know why why they upgraded in the manner that they did. I don't know why they thought upgrading in one area was enough that they could subtract from it. I don't know why they thought that Lou Trevino and Scott Efros were the equivalent of Michael King and a floundering Jonathan Loaizaga, or what you had hoped to get from Jonathan Loaizaga from this year, from last year into this year. So the fortifications were not good. The moves from the lack of moves from previous off seasons put them in this position to lead there, and now they're not making aggressive moves in terms of in-house personnel. No reason that Ron Marinaccio should get optioned, in my opinion. I don't understand why that happens. No reason Oswald Peraza shouldn't have. There shouldn't be at least rumblings that he might be coming up. And who's that other reliever at AAA? Greg
Weissert.
Yeah. Weissert. Like, no reason why he shouldn't have been called up to get an inning or a few here.
If we can keep making room for Ryan Weber on the roster, we could make room for Greg Weissert too.
Yeah. And this is part of the roster debate. We're going to flip flop between all these subjects here because it's a little bit messy, but I don't really have a clue in terms of what's going on. I don't know why I don't know why they thought Andrew Benintendi fit into these plans. I really don't. I'm going to criticize that even when he's playing well, because I don't think it's going to be good enough. And again, Stanton returning could change all of this in a second, but I think these are pedestrian trade acquisitions that the Yankees kind of needed to make to get rid of this upper level talent, because they had a deep farm system and other guys are going to make the leap. And then you get rid of some 40-man guys that you have to protect in the offseason. So I have no answer. It's more confusing than not, and I don't see a vision here.
I know this is kind of an unhinged podcast, but it just this is a reactionary week, right? Get it all out. It's not just a bad week, though. We all know that. It's a bad stretch. It's a 9-16 stretch, and it appeared the Yankees were turning the corner, winning 4 out of 5 against the Royals and Mariners, winning a Domingo Germán start, and winning the trade deadline, bringing in Montas, bringing in Efros, bringing in Trevino, bringing in Benintendi. Then they fumble the bag at the 11th hour and have not won a game since then, leading to every online genius saying, "Oh, the Joey Gallo curse." It's so fun how this works out for people who hate us and not for us, because they get to say the Yankees are 0-5 without Joey Gallo and the Dodgers are 6-0 with Joey Gallo. But imagine if the Yankees had kept Joey Gallo. Imagine what you'd be saying then. You'd be saying, how stupid are the Yankees? They get to keep Joey Gallo. Our haters eating delicious soup get to hate us for the week, regardless of the decision that the front office made. And they get to do that because Jordan Montgomery, don't trade him now. The Yankees bungled the execution here, but he hasn't been a good pitcher for months now. Of course, he throws 5 shutout innings against us. Montas wouldn't have been my preferred acquisition, but easily second place behind Castillo of the names that were available. His first start somehow ends up on 11 days rest after coming off the bereavement list, and he gets rocked. Where is the success? Scott Efros was good in his first 2 innings. He gives up the 3-run homer yesterday. Where is the success? It just feels like they continue to press buttons and come up red. Gallo at last year's deadline. Anthony Rizzo last year immediately gets COVID. You celebrate swiping him from the Red Sox for 3.5 days, and then he receives the novel coronavirus, and he comes back, and he's not quite as good. Just give me a trade acquisition, give me a signing, somebody who's able to consistently perform for the full year, or somebody who isn't able to throw it right back in our faces. How do you trade Jordan Montgomery to the team we're about to play? How do you do that? It's the Cardinals. We never play them. And yet, Jordan Montgomery is on the St. Louis Cardinals roster. Kent saying the Yankees would be 5-0 with Joey Gallo. I guess he's 2-10 with 6 strikeouts since going to LA with 2 opposite field singles. Yeah. And yet again, so you are right. I mean, he did just as much as 2 opposite field singles. That's just as much as what Andrew Benintendi did. We've been saying for so many months how it couldn't get worse than Gallo. It's currently just as bad. So that's great. Again, just another thing. Like, if any other team had traded Joey Gallo away, people would have ignored it for the rest. People would have never paid attention to ever again. But of course, the team he went to just happens to be the most stacked team in Major League Baseball. And the team he left just happens to be spiraling at the moment. It is like giving a rotting corpse a giant head start. It's like, how much is it going to decompose by the time October rolls around? But you're not going to catch me fist pumping if we get to the playoffs and the Yankees have won the division by 2.5 games. I'm like, see, I told you so. I knew we were going to hold on. What good does that do me? So the Marinaccio thing, while we're whining and complaining about the team, somehow pressing the button that seems right, but it doesn't turn out right. Somehow getting rid of somebody who hasn't performed for 2 months, and then there they go. They're performing in their new home. Optioning Marinaccio makes literally no sense. Literally no sense. And you can talk to me all you want about the logistics of the move. Thomas, did you know he had minor league options? Did you know that? Did you know that Marinaccio he had minor league options? That's why we sent him down. Did you know that? Yeah, no, I knew that. I know why he was demoted. I'm well aware. I also know that this team needs bullpen help. Last 17 and a third innings for Ron Marinaccio. 3 hits, 1 run, 9 walks, 18 Ks. Last 8 and a third, just that 1 earned run, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. Got an 086 whip in his last 30 games. This season, in the 23 games he's posted this season, he's got an 086 whip. 086! But unfortunately, we had to demote him because he had minor league options. Can't possibly demote the long man Lucas Litke and lose him to a DFA, right? Can't possibly do that. Because the Yankees can't possibly risk a potential DFA of somebody who's got a 1.25 whip this year and has been allowing inherited runners pretty constantly. Sure, his numbers overall in the season are pretty solid. You don't want to just throw an arm into a trash can if you don't have to. But you do that if that's what it takes to keep Marinaccio on the big league team. Not to mention Clark Schmidt, who's also a AAA, being stretched out to be a starter, but we need starters now. So where is he? How long does that take? And even if we're, just call him a piggyback Herman right now, it's really not that hard. But as if it were really a decision between DFAing Litke and keeping Marinaccio, that's somewhat of a tough decision. You DFA Litke, you're going to lose him. Right. I hear you on that, Yankees. Even though other teams are perfectly willing to DFA people who can't get the job done. Franmil Reyes hit 30 homers last year. Guardians DFA'd him over the weekend.
Goodbye.
They said, it's tough roster crunch. We don't really want to lose this guy who had 30 homer power last year. They just go, we're going to lose him. He's been bad this year. And that's the best case scenario for us. We're going to get rid of him. Jake McGee just got DFA'd. Dinelson Lamet got traded for and then DFA'd. People get DFA'd sometimes. But ignoring the DFA for a second, you know who else has a minor league option remaining? Jonathan Loaisiga and his 6.66 ERA and his 1.56 whip and his 13 walks in his last 24 and a third innings pitch. He's been awful this season, and he came in and walked the house on Sunday in a game where the home plate umpire was giving strikes a 1.5 feet off the plate all game long. Then Loaisiga came in and he's like, I can't help this guy. He's not even close. Even I can't help this guy. Jonathan Loaisiga has been one of the worst pieces in the Yankees bullpen this year. When healthy, when not healthy, he's been absent. He hasn't looked anything like himself. He was supposed to be the closer of the future, the 8th inning linchpin. He's been dreadful, and he's got a minor league option, so you can send him down to AAA so he can figure it the fuck out instead of getting rid of Ron Marinaccio, one of the very few people who actually functions at this moment. Let alone, like, Schmidt's down there. That's already bad enough. Now Marinaccio's down there, and Loaisiga's still up here. Make it make sense.
Yeah, I get wanting to use Loaisiga a little bit more at the major league level, but how much more, like we said, how much longer are you going to allow this to happen? How much more time are you going to give Jonathan Loaisiga and Aroldis Chapman to get back in a groove? You can't option Chapman, and you also didn't trade Chapman. So maybe that was another deadline miss, even though he's looked pretty good for, the last week or so. Not great, just not absolutely disastrous.
Oh, and by the way, if Clay Holmes had not blown the first game of this series and it had gone to the 9th at 3-2, it would have been a Chapman save opportunity, said Aaron Boone. So don't count your chickens and get on Clay Holmes' case because he might have saved us. At least he did the damage in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah.
It would have occurred in the 9th if he had gotten out of that inning.
So the roster problems have been there, and the main ones weren't solved. And that's, I think, where the frustration is coming from, because they're not getting the contributions that they were expecting from a few guys last year. They haven't been getting the rebounds they were expecting from a few guys. And then you see Marinaccio go down, and that's just like, you're making a move that's actively making us worse. And we have a stretch against a lot of good opponents over the next 2.5 weeks. So why are we doing this? And you look at Marinaccio's numbers overall, and he's barely halfway at his innings count from last year. So this isn't even a thing to be like, let's get him down to the minors. We'll have him chill out, throw a couple innings here and there. Less won't be as high leverage, and he'll be able to kind of, hang out, chill, get back on track, rest up. That's not even it. He's on the trajectory to end where he ended last year. So he's not overworked. There is nothing here unless the shoulder is barking that we don't know about, because that was the previous injury he had. There is nothing here that we need to further do forensics on. It's just the Yankees, someone having an option, the Yankees using that option for whatever reason they think makes sense. And it doesn't make sense because the team is not better without him. I understand Domingo Germán has tossed a couple of solid outings in his last two. But this is just the guy that doesn't need to be here because you know what's eventually going to happen when the Yankees need to win a game and he's on the mound. It's just not going to result in a win. And the fact that it was a little bit of bad luck with the deadline too, because you have Montas, who was coming off a long layoff. Was I expecting him to go 6 shutout yesterday? No, I wasn't really expecting a blow up, but you have the layoff, you're on a pitch count. It's a little bit of a different story. And then Benintendi is probably going to need a little bit of time to settle because of the high expectations. And because of the change of scenery. I know he went from Boston, which was high leverage, but Boston hadn't been playing high leverage baseball since 2018. So essentially he's been out of a major spotlight since the end of the 2018 season. And now
he was great in 2018 though.
He was
that's
great.
What I keep coming back to.
I think that might have an effect on a player, though, if you've played largely meaningless baseball for over 3 years. 3.5 years he's been playing meaningless baseball. The Red Sox were pretty much dead to rights most of 2019 with that roster wildly underachieving, and they're not being able to win at the right time. 2020 was bad for everybody's health. 2021, he's on the Royals, who aren't doing anything, and then the first half of this year, he's on the Royals, who were actually worse than they were believed to have been when they opened the season. So there is, I think, an element of bad luck, adjustment period, injuries happening at the worst time. But again, look at all the contenders around Major League Baseball. Look at them. Name them for me. Who has undergone a stretch of baseball like this where you're questioning one of the best starts in franchise history now? We are actually questioning one of the best starts in franchise history because of the slide that we've seen over the last 6 weeks that has resulted in below 500 baseball. So if you truly are a contender and you really are this behemoth that has been constructed, ready to take on any competition placed in front of you, you don't really have a stretch like this. And I know it's partially regression because the Yankees were never going to maintain a 49-16 pace or whatever the hell it was. They went 41-10 in 51 games. It was absolutely ridiculous. But then again, is the regression to the mean then being below 500 for a 25% of the season? I don't know. I don't know if I'm crazy and I'm not looking at the baseball calendar as thoroughly as I should. But with the players on this team, with the names on this team, even with the injuries that they have, there is no reason to log this many embarrassing blown losses that we've seen. What was the math you did? They're 9-16 over the last 25.
I can pull it up. I'm not happy.
Pull it up in the notes. Adam has a nice, healthy notes app, and he just documents every shitty Yankees loss in history.
I'm not happy. And this was also, I mathed this out before Saturday and Sunday. So, I don't know what you guys would call those. Obviously, Saturday was just probably the dullest game of the year.
Yeah.
And you and I were all geared up to be like, oh, so we got walked off basically. And I mean, not really, but Paul DeJong beat us in the bottom of the 8th on Friday. And then we got Domingo on Saturday. So that's 2 straight losses. Let's see what happens on Sunday. And then, of course, Domingo is okay. They lose that game because Aaron Hicks bobbles a single in the left. and they lose 1-0 and nothing happens after the first inning. They don't even come close. So what kind of loss you guys would categorize that as, I don't know. But add another 3-run blown lead in because they were up 4-1 on Sunday in the Montas game. So I would call that a gut stab. This was my gut stab ratio counter, and it was done prior to Saturday. So let's add another one because the 3-run blown leads count because I counted 3-run blown leads to Baltimore and Boston in my gut stab counter. So that would be 12 of 25. So there's now if you've watched the last 25 Yankee games, there's a 48% chance you're about to watch a gut stab. If those Yankees have a save opportunity in the 8th or 9th, they've blown 4 of 5. So there's an 80% chance you're about to watch a loss if the Yankees hold a slim lead in the late innings. That's not good. And so the last 25 Yankee games now include walk-off losses to Boston, Houston, and the Mets, blown 8th or 9th inning leads to Cincinnati, St. Louis, and Kansas City. Obviously, the blown 8th or 9th and 10th inning lead to Boston is included in that walk-off loss section. I don't want to double count it. So the blown 8th or 9th inning leads, obviously Holmes against St. Louis the other day, Salvador Perez, the home run off Holmes as well, and Holmes' complete meltdown against Cincinnati with a 3-0 lead. I still think the worst loss I've ever seen in terms of just individual jaw-dropping games. I think that's worse than Chapman's Jared Walsh game. We could debate that till the cows come home. I don't really want to say which of those hurt more. Both bad. That's probably enough. Both bad.
Yeah.
Bad games. So walk-off losses to the Sox, Houston, and the Mets. Blown 8th or 9th leads to Cincinnati, St. Louis, KC. 3-run leads blown to Baltimore. Garrett Cole on the mound. Boston, the Tyone game, and St. Louis yesterday. So that's now 9 games. And extra innings home losses to the Red Sox and Cincinnati. Don't forget the games with the winning run on 3rd and the 9th and 10th where the Yankees couldn't come through, and ultimately Michael King threw a wild pitch to lose the opener of the home series Red Sox a couple weeks ago. In Cincinnati, we somehow lost like 7-6 in the Luis Castillo game where Glaber hit a home run and fought back. Plus the Seattle game where we were down 6-3, tied it at 6-6, then a bullpen meltdown brought us to 8-6, and we ultimately lost that game. I didn't even count that. That's not even, I guess that's part of it. I didn't have a fun time there. So I'll call that a gut stab, right? Yeah. The letdown, the air being let out of the balloon. So yeah, 48% of the time, if you've watched the Yankees since July 9th, you're not just in for a loss, you're in for a terrible loss.
Yeah. And now I am more concerned about this team bottoming out. And I just added this in because I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. Fine.
It's the optics of the post deadline, the vibes overall, the direction of what the franchise is doing. And it brings into question Aaron Judge's free agency. This is a guy who said he wanted to be a Yankee for life. They couldn't get a contract done before the season, whether it was his fault or whether it was the front office's fault. This is a guy who claimed he wanted to be a Yankee for life, even though this team has fallen embarrassingly short during his time here. Even though one could argue Brian Cashman has not made the proper reinforcements and additions that this roster has needed with Aaron Judge on it during his tenure here, still expressing a desire to stay here. Is that an Aaron Judge money play because he knows the Yankees have the most money and can probably give him the most money? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to rule anything out. I'm also not going to accuse him of that because that sounds insane. But it could be the case. Now you look at the Yankee stretch, you look at the post deadline, it's obviously not enough. We all know that. And again, this would have been viewed through an entirely different lens if maybe one more reliever was acquired and Jordan Montgomery was never dealt. So that's what doing what you did at the buzzer, and how that can change the entire. The Yankees are 6-11 since the captain premiered on ESPN.
All-Star break. Great timing, ESPN.
I love that. So yeah, then you look at Judge here though, and what is he watching unfold? He's watching himself carry the roster offensively, and I know a lot of other guys are performing. DJ LeMahieu playing out of his mind. Matt Carpenter is still hitting the ball fairly well. Josh Donaldson has awakened a little bit, but not entirely. But there are guys here playing solid baseball. It's just not all coming together. However, You look at Aaron Judge, and what inclination now does he have to stay if the Yankees fall short? And that's what I want somebody to answer for me. Because if it's money and he thinks the Yankees are going to offer him the most money, then that's great. He wants to stay here for the money. Okay, cool. But even then, if you want to win, if you're Aaron Judge, do you think the Yankees have the formula to maximize your prime and tenure here in New York? I don't know what reason he would have to view this as favorable if the Yankees fall short. I am not a fan of any of the other 29 MLB teams, but like I said earlier, I do not know of any legitimate contender who has believed to be one of the 2 or 3 favorites in their respective leagues to undergo these types of stretches that the Yankees have undergone for the past now 3 years. It's embarrassing. From top to bottom, from playing on the field to having to answer questions about it to just merely being caught by the camera in the dugout and you having a dejected look on your face. It could range from anybody on the team. So I don't know what inclination now Aaron Judge would have if this pattern of losing and pattern of, low energy games or a pattern of all the proper areas of the roster coming together to make these win streaks possible. If all of this persists longer than it should, then he's got to be rethinking his free agency. I don't understand why he would want to remain here if they're not aggressive enough to get him the pieces that he needs to be further supported. I don't think the 2022 Yankees should be in a position that they are in right now. Maybe that's because I have high expectations. I don't know. But to me, 21-23 over the last 6 or so weeks and losing in the manner in which you have for, like you said, 48% of the games over the last month, that's not a championship winning team. And when the stakes get higher in October or even in mid to late September, when maybe this division race heats up, you can't be doing that. There is no doing that. There is a very slim margin for error. And whether you think it's realistic to sustain that kind of success in those high leverage moments or not, that's your opinion. But the Dodgers don't do that. Look at the Dodgers right now. They have a 15.5 game lead over the division. They have managed to take care of business against the Giants and the Padres, despite the Giants hybrid buying and selling at the deadline, keeping their best players, and the Padres adding 4 all-stars, essentially.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that other teams, aren't capable of sustaining this level of dominance. We watched the Yankees do it, and now we're watching other teams across the league do it. The Houston Astros are doing it. I know that they faltered a little bit against the Guardians, but they're also dealing with some injuries. They also, still have the same amount of wins as the Yankees. So I don't know. Again, I don't know what inclination Aaron Judge has to stay here if these optics persist. They're bad optics. It's just not good. And the human element of it is the biggest thing. The Yankees blindside Jordan Montgomery with a trade. His fiance was here doing medical school. Now she has to move to St. Louis, can't complete medical school. It was a whole thing on social media this weekend. We saw it. The Yankees not possessing that human element to the point where they're like, hey, you know what? We'll trade one of our homegrown prospects at minute 59, right before the deadline's about to end.
While his best friend is in the bullpen getting ready to start. And then after the game, that guy's like, I was actually pretty bad today. I was thinking about how they took my friend off the team at the buzzer. Oh, yeah. I would be too.
I have no idea why Aaron Judge would think, and maybe Aaron Judge is just a businessman. He's like, I don't care if they have the human fucking element. They're going to pay me my money. It does. But either way, if Aaron Judge is serious about winning and or values the human element, this is bad if it goes on any longer than this 2-week stretch is going, I think, to kind of tell the story. That's my opinion.
The Jordan Montgomery thing made me very concerned, not just for an incumbent free agent like Judge, who obviously knows what this organization is about by now. And if he likes it and they offer him the most money, he'll stay. And if he doesn't like it or they underpay him or undervalue him, then he'll leave. But for somebody coming in, how do you feel if you're somebody who's entertaining free agency at the deadline? Chris Bassett of the Mets, be a great 3-starter for the Yankees this offseason. He's looking ahead. They just traded Jordan Montgomery in the middle of the season. They would do that to homegrown talent. Then what would they do to me? My costs rise. What are they going to do to me? Why would I join a family like that? If he asked Jameson Tyone How do you feel about how the Yankees treated you? What's he going to say? Is he going to give a positive report right now? Matt Blake, genius. They got me on track. Then I started struggling. They couldn't really figure me out. And then, oh yeah, they traded my best friend with no warning. Like, who's going to give a positive glass door review to the Yankees right now? Honest question. Free agency is going to be really important this year. They are losing. You thought they had a rotation issue in the middle of this season. They traded Wisniewski, traded Waldichuk. David Garcia is useless. Luis Gil's getting Tommy John. So they've got Clark Schmidt at the upper levels, basically. And they're losing. I mean, Montgomery was already a candidate to be gone. He's out. They're losing Tyone. They're not going to extend him. They have Montas for another year. So Cole, Montas, Severino, maybe, although his option might get declined. We don't know if he's coming back next year. Nestor Cortez. They have an incomplete rotation. Clark Schmidt clearly has the leg up, but there's not a lot of depth there. They're going to have to bring in 1 to 2 names in free agency or trade. Trade, you don't have any say over where you go. Free agency, you dictate your own path. There are no aces on the market this offseason, so it's the Bassett and, honestly, Tyone types. It's already going to be a difficult sledding for these number 3 starter types that everybody wants. Maybe the culture shock would make the difference. And the Yankees are already not the most popular franchise in the world. Paul DeYoung tweeted in 2011, "I hate the Yankees." It was recirculating this week with good reason because he kicked our ass. But some players just don't like the Yankees. Some players want to keep their facial hair and hair on their head. Some players grew up as fans of opposing teams. It's hard to get rid of that proclivity. And if you've been in the major leagues for a long time, you've gotten up to play the Yankees. It takes a special breed of person to want that. Already the talent pool is quite low for people that can handle New York, want to embrace that challenge, and want to help the Yankees win and get back to a role of villainy. Already you're talking about a low number of people. Then bake in who they can afford. Then bake in who from that pool has positive feelings after this year's trade deadline. I think it's going to be a very small number. So not just Aaron Judge, but future free agents are going to judge this team for what they just did.
Yeah, it sums it up perfectly. I don't doubt any of that, and I think it also plays a role in previous years. I think the Yankees have kind of acted in this same manner over the last, maybe 7 years, and that's why a ton of free agents haven't really wanted to come here. You had to outbid yourself by $80 million to get Garrett Cole to come here. It's stuff like that that's just beyond infuriating. So yeah, I mean, I got nothing else, dude. This is just frustrating bullshit. And this is it for the next 2 weeks. You have Mariners, playoff contender. They just punked your ass at home. You're now on the road there where you have success. You need to win.
We're getting a Cole Castillo again, though, the second game of the series. So buckle up.
And Cole better figure it out because I don't know. Garrett Cole just go 7 shutout innings because I don't remember the last time I saw that line from him. Pull up his baseball.
Roger Clemens it. Go to Seattle and go shutty.
Pull up his baseball reference and let me know when the last time he's fucking done that because I have no idea. You're in Seattle, 3 games, win the fucking series. Then you go to Fenway. It's been a goddamn nightmare to go to Fenway, but the Red Sox are bottoming out. Jarren Duran is crying because Kansas City fans are making fun of him and doing the little flicky bottle cap at him.
Jarren Duran says they're throwing bottle caps at him. I haven't been to a baseball game where they've let me keep a bottle cap in 10 years. And also, what's a bottle cap? Like, are you talking 1980s? Like the hard metal from the top of a Budweiser? Or are you talking about the little twist off, like the things you can bend? Because you can't even throw those. What are you attaching rocks to them to get them to float all the way to Duran? If what I'm thinking of hit Duran in the back, it feels like a fairy flicking you, like Tinkerbell landing on your shoulder.
Yeah. Weak-minded man, nonetheless. You lose what they get outscored 29-19 against the Royals over this 4-game set. They lost 3 out of 4. Their only series win, I think, since the beginning of July is the Astros. I don't know how they did that. That was right out of the break, or right after the trade deadline. Yeah, it was very helpful and very nice. But you come back, you follow that up with a dud against the Royals. Then you get that. So and guess what? The Red Sox are hosting the Braves for 2 after the Braves just got bitch slapped by the Mets. So the Braves are going to be very unhappy going into Fenway. So hopefully you get them still on their heels while you're looking to recover a little bit. You get the day off on the Thursday, figure your shit out before you go to Fenway on Friday night. Then you come back to Yankee Stadium after that weekend series. You got the Rays for 3 games. You got the Jays for 4. And then you got the Mets for 2 before you head out on a West Coast road trip. This is it. You have until August 23rd to figure this out. It's really not that crazy. It's not asking a lot. The Jays are the Jays. They're a good team, but they have shown many a flaw this year. The Rays are not the same team as they were. They're very much up and down, very much more unpredictable, not nearly as dominant and scary and consistent as they were the previous 2 years. And, you know, you want to send a statement? Beat the fucking Mets. Mets fans have been shit-talking the Yankees ever since they left Citi Field. All we're doing now on social media is fending off memes of Edwin Diaz being cooler than Clay Holmes, which I don't know what the point of that is. The Mets bragging they have a better closer, which is cool. Enjoy your closer. Very fucking cool entrance for Edwin Diaz. It's awesome. I would love to be at Citi Field when he comes out to that. But I don't care. I'm not concerned with making Aaron Judge, Pete Alonso comparisons. I don't know why Mets fans love to do this. But hey, you want to shut up, Mets fans? Win 2 at Yankee Stadium. Split the season series. No one has the heads up. You gain 2 games. Everything's good. So it's all right here for you to prove it, Yankees. Once again, a couple of narratives you could dispel about you choking, falling short, getting punked by your opponents. It's all right here. You got a big stretch to kind of, we were praising them in May for, I think, going 9-2 in that stretch against the Rays, Jays, and Red Sox, or what was it, 8-3, 9-2, something good, really good. Mm-hmm. Opportunity to do it one more time. And now this time you can give yourself enough cushion to weather a storm in September and not have to deal with the criticism that's resulting and compounding from this last 6 weeks of play. Figure it out, please.
Yeah, if you go 7-3 against the Rays, Jays, and Red Sox, it's over. I mean, that'll do it, right? Like, if you tread water, if you go 5-5, like, you'll probably be in decent shape. Just make a statement. Don't fall on your faces. Don't get swept by anybody. Is that too much to ask? Maybe. I mean, this Cardinals series felt so strange because the Cardinals aren't a rival. Like, the Yankees never play the Cardinals. So to even put it in, I can't be like, we always go to Busch Stadium and get our ass kicked. It's just like, I don't even know what that was, but it's probably the worst weekend series against a non-rival opponent I've ever seen. I was having this internal debate with myself and nobody else over the weekend because that's where I was at that point in time. Right before the 2009 All-Star break, they went to the Angels and blew 4-0 leads in the first 2 games and lost, and then left a million guys on base in the finale and lost like 3-2. I remember being really annoyed by that. But like other than like Red Sox, Rays, Astros, Blue Jays, Orioles, Mets, I can't think of a more frustrating weekend series than what they just experienced. Now, this could all feel like a drop in the bucket, right? We could all look back on this in 3 weeks and have a nice laugh. Everybody's favorite postseason heroes, the 2017, 2017 Yankees. Everybody loves them. They went through a stretch in like June where they were 7-17, or even worse than it's like 7-21. They were just losing constantly, and they rebounded and gave you a bunch of postseason moments that you never thought you'd see coming. So you never know. It's not over. Garrett Cole, just so we're all on the same page, went 7 shutty last year 4 times. Did it to the Orioles in his second start. Did it to the White Sox in the middle of May. Got through 9 shutout in that Houston game that everybody remembers, obviously. I had another, 8 innings against the Rays in a 1-0 win, 4 hits, 12 strikeouts. He did it 4 times last year. This year he's done it once. Thomas, when do you think he did it?
He did it against... Shit, come on. Did he do it against the Rays?
No, super recent and not a pleasant memory.
Oh, was it the O's?
July 12th, Cincinnati. Shut him out for 7 innings. Mike King got the 8th. Clay Holmes immediately loaded the bases and blew the save in the 9th.
That's right.
The worst game of the year was Garrett Cole's 7 shutout innings. Would love that again in Seattle, but maybe let's tack on 2 additional innings to it. Ken, with the thesis statement, do you feel the team is let down after the deadline?
Yes.
Yes. In conclusion,
no.
Yes, I do. 2 more weeks. Prove it to us that you still got it. That's all we ask. Because right now, the team is what they are. The team is 9-16. The team is below 500. The team is 6-11 since the break and since the captain premiered. So 70-39 in the long haul, not bad. If this team lets the division get closer, if this team loses the division series, 95 style. Turn the shortstop job over to the rookie. No more GM, no more manager. Will they do it? No chance. That's it for this edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us a 5-star review and a mailbag question. We will answer it. Not even going to say more than happy. We will not be. This is the worst I've felt doing a podcast other than seasons over in the postseason podcasts. Because, I mean, bottom line, we wanted a special season, right? 2018 Red Sox got one. 2017 Astros got one. Sometimes it doesn't look the way you think it will midseason. The Braves obviously won the title last year. We're a little over 500 at this point in time. Sometimes you don't know from opening day till the end of the season. Sometimes you do. 2018 Red Sox, you did. This year's Yankees, they're 52-18. They're 61-23. They're 15 and a half games up on everybody in the division. You did. You knew. It was a special season. This had to be the season. Now, good team.
Good team.
Top 6 team in baseball. Missing key pieces. Doesn't feel special anymore. If you want to talk to me about it, rational or irrational thoughts, you can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carinante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. You can also find us at Yanks Go Yard FS, official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account. Good place, fun place. You can go read our work at yanksgoyard.com. Plenty of content there for you. Guys, kicking off 3-game set. Mariners, Jameson Tyone, Logan Gilbert. That is tonight. Yankees get no break after what they've just been dealing with over this last week. So, got to get it into high gear tonight. Cole's got to beat Castillo, and then you get a nice day off on Thursday, and then it's Fenway Park. We'll be talking to you on Thursday after this series is over. We'll preview the Red Sox, and until then, enjoy the rest of your week, folks.
Please enjoy the rest of your week.